Have you truly been changed? And I don't mean a change like your appearance or something on the outside. Have you truly been changed and convicted by God to the heart level? And that's what I want to speak about today. Have you truly been changed by God? And what marks a true believer that has actually been changed by God? And that is the process of circumcision, which is not what we think in the Old Testament, but a spiritual circumcision that God does in the hearts of believers. And so we see this in Romans chapter 2, which I'll be speaking on, Romans 2:27, verses 27 through 29, which is a very powerful book because it contains a lot of the theology that we get and speak about even today. A lot of theology such as justification or sanctification or glorification, these complex terms that we use, comes from the book of Romans, or how total depravity, how everyone has a depraved nature, a sinful nature. But when we reach into chapter 2, we see the idea that Paul is trying to bring, especially to a church in Rome, where there is a mix of Jews and Gentiles, Gentile believers. We see that in chapter 1, Paul is condemning the Gentile believers who think that they can be saved, showing that they actually have a knowledge of God, and this is not just for Gentiles. Everyone has a knowledge of God, which they suppress the truth in unrighteousness. And then, of course, this would make the Jews believe, oh yeah, we're better than the Gentiles because we do better than them. But we see in chapter 2, that's not actually true. God is also going to judge them because they have also done wrong as well. They also have sinned, and God does not judge partially or with bias. And so when we get into this portion in chapter 2, we see that the Jews are trying to justify themselves through works, through actions they do in front of God, to be made right in front of God, to be saved in front of God. They think that their works will get them. But is that really true? And this is what we see in Romans 2, verses 27, which reads, "And he who is physically uncircumcised, if he fulfills the law, will he not judge you who through the letter of the law and circumcision are a transgressor of the law?" Verse 28, "For he is not a Jew who is one outwardly, nor is circumcision that which is outward in the flesh." Verse 29, "But he is a Jew who is one inwardly, and circumcision is that which is of the heart by the Spirit, not by the letter. And his praise is not from men, but from God." And so what do we see in this passage? What Paul is trying to highlight is that physical circumcision, which is a sign of the covenant with Abraham. If you have an idea in the books of Moses, Genesis through Deuteronomy, circumcision would be a sign of you entering into the covenant with God that he made with Abraham. What Paul is trying to argue here is that physical circumcision will not mean much in the end. Why? Because you are still transgressing against the law. It does not mean much. A person is not a Jew by their outward circumcision. And so Paul is trying to outline that physical circumcision is not what defines a true believer of God. Spiritual circumcision is what defines a true believer of God. Because you can be Jew on the outside and do all the actions and works, but that does not mean you are a true Jew on the inside. For example, the Pharisees thought that they were the children of Abraham because they did all the works and the laws and everything that the old covenant system desired. But what did Jesus tell them? That they are actually children of the devil because they did not believe in Jesus. They didn't trust in what Jesus did on the cross. They trusted in themselves to do the work. And so what marks a true Jew is one who is circumcised inwardly. And is this person doing anything to be circumcised inwardly, to be changed inwardly? No. Verse 29 tells us that it is by the Holy Spirit that changes a believer inwardly, or changes someone into a believer inwardly. And this praise is not from men, but from God, showing that we cannot boast in our salvation, because our salvation does not come from ourselves. Our salvation comes from God. I did not work for me to enter into God's kingdom. God did all the work for me. And so you may be living a lifestyle where you are trying to please God or just please other people by doing all the works, by going to church or trying to look good in front of other people. Yet you live a lifestyle that is far from God. And so my question is for you today, are you truly circumcised? Not outwardly, but inwardly by the heart. Has God truly changed you? Have you desired for him more? And that is what I want to leave you off today. So I hope this video blessed you and answer the question if you have been truly saved. That note, take care and God bless.